Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Ferrum College 40 West Show. I'm Cleve Adams, Director of Athletics, and this is where we bring you all the latest from Ferrum College Athletics. Each week, we talk with coaches, administrators, student athletes about our journey into NCAA Division II, plus game updates, recruiting news, alumni relations, and everything happening across Panther Nation. Today, we're joined by Coach Matt Cureton, head coach of our men's soccer team, who just led his squad to an incredible milestone, earning a spot in the Conference Carolinas postseason tournament in the first year competing in the NCAA Division II. Coach, welcome to the show and congratulations for making history.
Thank you. Thanks for having me as well.
Absolutely. I'm super excited about this segment, just having you talk a little bit about your program. You know, a lot of people don't know what goes on behind the scenes, and I'm hoping that these episodes are going to open up a lot of eyes and be able to share what's great about FAM and what you got, the hard work you and your staff are doing and your student athletes. As we move into Division II, there's a lot of energy and change in the air. You know, I want you to share a few things. I have a couple questions I want you to answer. You know, one being, what has been the biggest challenge for you and your program and your team?
I think just making sure that we got the right fit. Not to touch on your questions that'll come later, but the culture piece for us is important. So how do we get a new group that is ready to compete to come in and also gel with our current group, and trying to find that balance? And that takes a lot of work, a lot of phone calls, a lot of communication. Ultimately, and I think we did a really good job with it, and I think we're receiving some of those rewards right now for it.
Absolutely, and I've been along for the ride and been very impressed with what you and James have been doing, and also your team. At this stage, I know we're on the back end of the season, but when you look back, we still have some work to do, obviously. What are you most proud of?
Out of conference results and out of pod results. We lost one game. And ultimately, our strength of schedule within our pod got us winning those outside of pod games are what led us to be able to get in the tournament. You know, I think on paper, I said it to you in an email the other day, it wasn't the prettiest, right? But we managed to get the results where we needed them. And I think in the past, that hasn't been a key mark for our team because we've been very young every year. And again, that's where some of that recruiting piece really came in, is we got some of that experience to come and help us get over the hump. And I think we had a lot more to offer than maybe what we did in the win-loss column. But at the end of the day, we did enough to get ourselves in there, and now it's knockout footy. Who knows what will happen?
Absolutely. Help our listening audience understand what you mean about podding. You know, I don't want to steal the thunder. You know, you're the coach, you understand exactly what that means in Conference Carolinas, but help them understand what you mean by pods.
Yeah, so basically of the 15 teams on the men's soccer side of things, there's three pods with 5 teams in each pod. And it just so happens to be that in ours, the other 4 teams are all within the top 6 of the conference right now. I believe Mount Olive finished in 6. So playing those teams twice with the KPI calculations, which is way too much to get into.
No question.
Man, it added a layer this year as a coach. But I think it's one where you play those really top into the conference teams twice. You deserve some work with that, right? And I think we proved to ourselves we can compete with those teams, which is exciting. We just now got to figure out how to get across the hump with kind of that level of play. But I think that's kind of how the pod system works. And for me, I was a little skeptical going in. Haven't played in Conference Carolinas, but I really liked how this whole year's panned out. Even from a travel perspective, it really wasn't too bad and too much of a change from the ODAC for us. So I think that's kind of how they go about it, and it's pretty effective. So
Good deal. Well, that's good stuff. Speaking of milestones, your team had some success this year. We've talked in our meetings, individual meetings, is kind of expecting it to happen, is waiting for it to happen, the ups and downs with that piece of it. But there's some highlights in your first year in Division II. Let's talk about your run. You talked about it a little bit. The men's team made the conference postseason.
Yep.
I know we were looking forward to that last year, and we were clawing at it, and I told you many times how much I really appreciate your team and what you guys are doing. But in the first year in NCAA Division II, with 35% scholarships, right? A lot of people don't understand that dynamic, but that's a huge accomplishment. What is the key to your team's success this year?
I think going day by day, as it has been in the past, and I think, for example, like you just said, in meetings with you last year after games where we thought we should have got over the line. We couldn't quite find the way, and hearing feedback from the school, I mean, our athletic director at the end of the day, just how positive the group comes off and how much they care, how other people see it. Those are the small wins that ultimately added up to us staying in the right frame of mind to go get it done this year. And then, of course, obviously recruiting plays a huge part in that. I've definitely come around as a head coach to really see more impact on the retention than anything
100%.
Really playing a huge part. I had conversations with student athletes today about it, and while scholarship money helped us maybe seal off some of those gaps that we had, and at the end of the day, if we didn't return a group that was hungry and ready to go and up for the challenge, I don't think we would have been able to answer the call with just those couple of pieces coming in. So for me, it's just about going day by day and working for the badge, for the school, for the program. That's the most important thing, is staying together and doing something that you're proud of as a group. That'll keep you hungry day in, day out.
Yeah, good deal. And I remember last year some of those tough outs we had, and the guys just laying on the field together, just distraught. And that's when I knew, from a director of athletics perspective, that it mattered. It 100% mattered. And I was just so impressed by that. And they would come back and they would compete the next, and we were always like, we're almost there. What does a postseason appearance mean to the growth and credibility of Ferrum men's soccer?
I think it means everything. I know to the staff, to the guys as well. It's funny because as a program, you have freshmen who haven't seen all those other tough years of almost there. Then you have a staff that's been here the whole time through it all. For me, it just was such a weight off the shoulders, not even for James and I. We know we put the work in and we deserve to be in this spot, but for the guys, the transfers that came in, for the freshmen that wanted to be a part of this, the guys that weren't necessarily recruited to play Division II, right? But they've stuck through the project, and it was a huge weight off our shoulders, and I think it's one that the group's really excited with because they saw how much we competed this year. And knockout soccer is very, very different than any other sport. I mean, all it takes is one goal at the end of the day, and I think it's a group that's ready to go and attack this properly. But we couldn't be more appreciative of all the guys that have come through the program in the last 4 years to help us get to this moment. And I know that's something I said in my interview, was that success isn't probably going to come that first year when I took over. I did a year of work by myself to make sure I got the right assistant in, who's now our associate head coach, James Morgan. All those little pieces added up, and it's in those moments tough at times to keep grinding through it, but seeing the reward of it here, getting to postseason, and all the support we're getting from the school, the athletic director, the president, just everyone. I mean, it means the world to us.
Good deal. Success on the field always has deep roots off the field, and that brings me to my next topic, and that's building team culture. And I've told you time and time again in our individual meetings that you guys have been doing a lot of really cool things to hold your team together, bring the right pieces in, and just create a sense of belonging. I look at your team and come and support other teams in the gym, at the baseball, when they can at football games, in every venue. Talk about building your culture and what went into that.
I think probably one of the most important pieces of it for us as a staff was our own experiences, right? James and I both went to Leeds McRae College, a very similar setting to here, and we knew what we loved from that setting. How can we start to bring that into to Ferrum? And I think we have all the tools in the world at the end of the day here. Facilities are phenomenal. The environment we get to be in and around daily, it sets you up for success if you have the right pieces and the right game plan in order. And I think it's a staple of both James and I that we would have those pieces in place. For me, immediately in the recruiting process was talking about, and I mean this in a positive way, it's a little bit of an island here, right?
100%.
Do we have what we need to be successful? Yes. Okay, now we have to find the guys with the right mentality that are hungry, junkies for their sport, for being a teammate, for working for a program. I had guys that love high school type soccer. It's different than club. It's about something bigger than just yourself. And at the end of the day, that takes a lot of questions and a lot of calls. But when you find those guys that do want that and do mesh well with our staff and just want what's best for the program and team as a whole, not just themselves. They're the ones that come in and thrive. We needed junkies for our sport, guys that want to play pickup day in, day out. And the amount of pictures you've posted in the group chat with all the head coaches of this is what it's meant to look like. When our guys are in there, I'm so proud of it, right? It's just a huge piece that you have to want what's best for Ferrum, and the guys that do are the ones that are here for us, and that's why you see them out at games. Yes, we made it mandatory at first. It's not anymore. Right. Unless Cleve tells us, hey, they need to be at this game, it's an easy one for me. I just texted in the group, hey, guys, we'd like to be at this game. They're there. They want to do it on their own now, and ultimately it took time to get there. But in our opinion, I think we're one of the teams that's out at pretty much everything on campus.
100%.
And proud of it. So.
Good deal. I like that analogy, the island, the 40 West Island.
Yeah.
Right? You have to want to be back here, that's for sure. That moves us from culture to the cornerstone, right? Recruiting.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about your mindset when we made the change to Division II, what you had to do to tweak some things. Obviously, we were in lockstep the whole way in terms of figuring this thing out. But in your own words as the head coach about what that looked like from a Division II perspective, talk to us about that a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's a tough one because of all the changes, Division I, new rules being passed, and I don't have all the answers to it by any means, but I do think we found a pretty effective way of recruiting, and we've ventured out here a little bit at the beginning to Florida, where I knew that there was a lot of players that were being overlooked. There was a lot of teams in those conferences that are very international driven, and the guys we were bringing in were ready for the D2 level. We were doing that Division III. They just were freshmen and young, weren't quite seeing what all they would offer. So that really, again, it set us up nicely to be prepared for D2, and now it's getting, again, the right transfers to come in. I'll be honest, I'm not huge on transfer recruiting. I think it's a big risk, right? If you get it right, you reap the rewards. Yep, you get it wrong, and everyone's against you. So those personalities were a big one. Not getting guys that were just maybe professionals back in the day, or playing almost at that level, right? And going to come in and bring the wrong personalities to help teach and mold our group. So finding guys that had a high level, but also we're going to be good people in how they delivered messages while holding each other accountable, which is one of the biggest pieces to our success this year. It just wasn't tough, and there's no real A plus B equals C rhythm to it.
That's right.
So, I think for us it's just putting the work in, having good contacts that we trust more than just good players. That's a big one for us. The agents, anyone we speak to like that, they're good people as well. Right. They know what we're looking for, and those are the guys ultimately that they push for us. So I think it's one that we're going to continue to learn and grow. I don't think we got everything right last year, but with the molds and rules changes, Division I, how is it going to affect it moving forward for D2? And we'll analyze that and break that down to get everything right, because I do think some of the international recruiting isn't as heavy now, but I also think if you look at the rosters that are really finding success in the region and the nation, they're pretty international driven. I do think that's going to change some. So trying to figure that out as we go ourselves right now is going to be a big piece of the next coming years. But just trying to work within the parameters of what we're given, the money we were given, and the trust that was put in us as a staff to go find the right fits. And I think we do a good job with that. But ultimately, it comes down to working hard.
That's right.
It's the hardest part.
You can't cut a corner in recruiting. The work's the work. This is a tough one for us always, and I want to bring this to light. And this episode is twofold. We're going to talk about recruiting and how our alumni family can help us in that regard, and then we'll double back and talk about another piece of it with our alumni family. But in your words as the head coach, as we continue to try to create that connection with our alumni family, how can they help in recruiting?
Yeah, I think any donation, any gift, anything given back goes a long way, and it's just beyond appreciated. I mean, I think we try and put those donations, anything fundraising wise, right back into the guys. We need to give them the most professionalized and time-worthy experience that we can. And I think personally we've done that since we got here. I mean, again, facilities, what we're able to offer these young men is spectacular. Again, that was probably one of the biggest draws for me coming in here was we have everything we need to be successful.
That's right.
And how do you now go and continue to push that? And I think a lot of that is the guys' opinions. They tell us so much of what they need. And again, we've established that relationship with our group from our culture standpoint. Very arm around you, very come to the office, open ear, open door. And we've created those relationships where guys trust us, whether it be about soccer, stuff happening off the field in the classroom. And I think that puts us in place to know what the group not only feels they need, but what we know the group needs as well. And finding that combination and balance of, okay, it's not about just what James and I want for the group, it's their opinion as well. Times change. I have no style. I can't pick, good gear for them to wear anymore. Little things like that, and they keep us in check with that stuff. So, I think finding ways to continue to reward them because they work hard. Student athletes, it's a full-time job. No different than us as an athletic director or a head coach. And, I think just being able to represent fair and well when we're out on the road, little things
That's
like
right.
that, it all comes back and pays off in dividends.
Good deal. Absolutely. And as you continue building, resources always play a huge role. You touched on it a little bit. We have tried this year, just dabbled a little bit. We have families setting up a tailgate on the front porch of the Norton Center, just trying to build a culture. I think it's turning the corner there. But our alumni family and friends, every team has needs. We know that. We need our supporters to make a huge difference. Basically, talk to me a little bit about the top priorities in your program. If we had an open checkbook for our alumni family and friends, what you and James feel like you guys would need to take this thing to the next level of the student athlete experience and the ability to compete at a high level.
Yeah, I think some of it is already being worked on, right? Like you just touched on, a little bit of that tailgate right outside of our locker room. Some of the initiative from the parents that, of the guys that we've brought in recently have just been amazing, and it goes such a long way. Some of that was, this is year four of recruiting. It's all of our guys now, right? And I think that's where some of those initiatives are coming from. But the few changes that people might not know about outside of the program is, when we got here, where we were filming from, I thought was a disaster. In terms of helping the guys develop, film really matters for that stuff.
That's right.
How can we get them something that's going to allow them on a daily basis to be checking on themselves? And we went and got Huddle for kind of help bring that into the athletic department as a whole. We've got it on the turf field, obviously Penn Roadger as well. And then this year with some of the changes, we've ended up on Oasis, which we are absolutely loving, Coach. But now we got to work on our film setup up there, and that's on us to tackle, rightfully so. And little pieces like that where in the past we've been able to add the camera system. Now we need to go and look at doing it up there as well, right? And I think that stuff has gone a long way for us, not only in terms of development mainly, but recruiting as well. The feedback we get when we do Zooms with players about, hey, here's Y-Scout, a software that breaks down every stat from every game, clips every interaction you had in the game. It's great for highlight videos, film review. Those little pieces are so attractive to players, and not only do we use it from that standpoint, but of course we're using it with the evidence behind it to help them develop, and just that stuff goes so far. And at the end of the day, meals after games, little stuff like that, it really adds up to where maybe we aren't able to purchase some of that stuff for the guys, or maybe we can't make this recruiting trip because we did something outside of just Domino's after a game, that one special occasion, right? So anything and everything goes just such a far way for the program, and it's always got a thought and game plan behind it from the coaching staff to make the right decisions for the guys, the school, and just kind of from that standpoint. So it's something that any dollar, any cent helps, man.
Absolutely.
It really does.
Absolutely, no question about it. Student athlete experience and getting to where we want to get to compete at a high level within our conference in this region and nationally, hopefully, in the long run. All right, we're about to wrap this thing up, but let's let the rubber hit the road. All right. What should we expect on Wednesday? We have Barton College, right?
Yep.
First round.
Mm-hmm.
I am so stoked about this. You guys, I'm so happy for you guys. I'm happy for the guys. I'm happy for our alumni family, this community that we got in. This will be the third time that we lock horns with these guys, right? Talk to me about, I'm going to give you several things. What can the fans expect? Who should we keep an eye on? Keys to your victory. I know this is a mouthful. Just give Panther Nation an idea as you and James break this thing down, what to expect on Wednesday.
Yeah, I think we're still obviously kind of combing through some of that, trying to make the right decisions because knockout soccer, survive and advance soccer.
Play different, right?
Yeah, totally different. It adds a layer of you can't afford to make mistakes because you go home, right? Whereas in season, we also have a message to send to our guys of we're going to go approach this with pride. We're going to play them straight up. We're going to go and be really attacking minded today. And maybe we make mistakes and don't get the result that we wanted from the game. But it also is an element of telling the guys and showing them that trust is there, that belief in them is there. Whether it comes or not, it's going to come eventually.
So let me ask you a quick question. I don't mean to cut in, but
Yeah.
I'm still trying to learn the soccer rules. I finally figured out all sides.
Yeah.
So when you talk attacking, right,
Mm-hmm.
is that what it looks like when you get inside of 3 minutes and a half and you're pressing and you're trying to – because I've seen the game change in some of those transitional points of the game where it just looks different.
Yeah.
The whole energy,
The picture determines so much of that. And I've told you before, like my first year when I got here, we played number 1 team in the country, Washington and Lee. On paper, we had no business trying to do anything out of defending in our own 18, to be honest. What that does is attract pressure, yes. Can you answer those calls? But it also opens up a ton of space for us to go and counterattack and be dangerous there. And on that night specifically, we 1 goal, 1 shot. And that's the terrifying piece with soccer is one mistake can lead to a goal, but a goal is worth so much in our sport. And it's tough. You got to find a way to manage those moments. How often are you having positive moments in the game where you can go get something, but limiting those negative moments as well? And I think that's the piece that we have to get right in our approach. We have no business sending a message to our team of let's pack it in and play on the counter and we can't hang with these guys. This is how we're going to get the game because we've already seen it twice. And in our opinion, and they're good friends of ours, the two coaches down there, and I think they would back a little bit of what we're saying here is we went and competed with them last time. The last game, I personally think not walking out with a tie was unfair. It was soccer at its finest. And they scored a screamer with, 10, 15 left, something like that, totally against the run of play. Whereas the first time they came and they put it on us in the first half. We didn't answer that call. Second half we did. It was a little too late. So I think it's just getting the game plan right and not giving too much away on either end, but having that, not an ego, but having that confidence in ourselves and the guy beside us that we're going to go get this done.
expect the result.
Yep. And at the end of the day, they might see it as a positive. We see it as a positive too. It's hard to beat a team 3 times
100%.
in 1 year. It is, especially teams that, as a staff, I'm confident in us. We'll get the game plan right. Can we go execute it?
There you go. Good deal, Coach. Well, guys, that's it for our second episode of the Ferrum College 40 West Show. Huge thank you, Coach Matt Cureton, for joining us and leading your program to the first postseason appearance in D2 history. That is huge, man, and I'm so happy for you. Guys, as we celebrate moments like these, and we need to celebrate moments like these, and that's what we do this for, we want to invite everyone to be a part of the 40 West Challenge. And what I mean by that is fundraising efforts are critical here. And my challenge to all of our alumni family and friends is if 500 or more get $40 a month, we could eclipse over $250,000 in a year. That would do so much to enhance the student-athlete experience here at Ferrum College. Your continuous support will help build our programs, our facilities, and opportunities to make a lasting impact on every student-athlete who wears the black and gold. Be sure to follow us on social media and visit FerrumPanthers.com for scheduled stories and updates. Until next time, I'm Cleve Adams, and this is the Ferrum College 40 West Show, where our foundation is 3 wins: win in life, win in the classroom, and win on the field or whatever arena you're playing in, supporting the mission of our alma mater, where students enter with promise and leave with purpose.